everybody. As soon as we get in here, we'll get started. I am Sharontel Durskill. I am a celebrity music publicist, motivational speaker, and author of My Now Entrepreneur and best-selling series Number One Habit. Hello, everybody. Hey, Brenda. All right, we're going to get started. Let's bring our guest in. I was wondering if I was going to even get anybody today because I forgot. Hey there.
Hey,
I was
Sharon.
I was just talking about I forgot that this was like Labor Day weekend because weekends don't exist in my world. I mean, I know
Right,
they
right.
do, you know what I mean? But a
Yeah.
lot of times I'm not even thinking about them. I'm so busy like either writing or just enjoying life. All right, hey there. Shout out to 10K Cards, my sponsor. Did you see your card that I sent you?
Oh, I loved it. I
Did you get it?
appreciate it so much. I was a
It's so
surprise. I did
cool,
not expect
right?
it.
Let me fix
I did
my
not expect it.
camera. It's so cool, right?
I
Oh my
love it.
goodness. I have an amazing sponsor, 10K Cards. They're on here. Hello. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. I was like, oh my God, this is Labor Day weekend, but that's okay, right? We're
Right,
here.
right.
We are here with Domain I Arts. I was like, I want to make sure that I pronounce it right. And that's why I called you right before. I was like, I don't want to like pronounce it wrong. Oh my goodness. So
Y-
you're a creative director, graphic designer. That's amazing. I love
Absolutely.
creative people. I love arts. That is so awesome.
It's a
So
very
the
fun
point of
field.
is fun. The
Yeah.
point of these Instagram live conversations is, of course, we're in this pandemic that we're going through. So people are experiencing this time in so many different ways. So I thought that through like conversations, collaborations with other creatives, it would maybe spark something in someone else that may
Right.
not be feeling creative during this time.
True.
It's amazing what I can get out of conversations. I mean, my grandmother raised me, and we used to sit at the table in the morning time, and we all have like a cup of coffee. So every time I'm doing these, I always have a cup of coffee because that's what me and my grandmother used to do. And
Right.
I'm right now living off some of that wisdom that she gave me as a little girl. So just a little drop on what why I chose to do these live Instagram conversations and
Right.
what choose your path is all about, because we can't choose our path. There are so many people, I had wrote down earlier that there are so many people that have dealt with so much pain, all kinds of pain and suffering during this
Absolutely.
time, right?
Absolutely.
I was inspired by you. One of your comments said that you love to inspire. And that's why I brought you on, because I was like, oh my God, that's so great, because that's a part of my mission, inspiring people. So what
Right.
would you say to some people now that may be in a lot of pain and is suffering right now in this time that we're going through?
What I would say to people in this time, you know, they say nothing really lasts forever. So if you're going through bad times, just know it's only temporary. And I've had my fair share, personally. I've lost people in this time, in the season of COVID and everything, and
Hmm.
it's a sad situation where you don't get a chance to say goodbye,
Right.
and at this time, I could only say that you gotta, be safe and protect yourself, protect your loved ones. I know a lot of people are not a fan of the mask situation, they don't want to wear a mask, but it really is not for you, even if you don't want to wear it. Sometimes it's for the ones less vulnerable, more vulnerable.
Absolutely.
I mean, more vulnerable than you. So it helps to take care of them by doing something that maybe you don't agree with, but it helps in the long run.
Absolutely. No, it is definitely important. It feels so weird though. I was talking the other day with an artist and we were talking about the mask, and I was like, oh my goodness, I wear it, but it's like walking in the store and seeing everybody wearing masks and we're so far apart from each other. And if we get too close, I'm like,
It's a very awkward situation, especially if we're so accustomed to like jumping out the house and then going. Most of the time it's just the key. We only need the keys and we're ready. But so we'll get like halfway to where we're going, or we're already there, and then we realize,
mhm.
oh, we forgot the mask. And lucky for some of us, we're not in a situation, like we're not in a state where you know, the policeman will pull up to you and like, oh,
Oh yeah.
here's a ticket. Because it's a new habit we have to force ourselves into,
It's definitely the new norm.
Yeah,
Seriously, I think so many people are waiting and waiting for like the old to come back, and the old is already written. It's already done.
right.
We have to adapt and adjust to this. May be possibly our new norm. We don't know.
No,
Everything is like so uncertain right now.
that's true. We're not accustomed to it, so it's like, how long is it gonna last? We don't know. But I feel like we can all get through together, like everybody, if we just get it over with. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Just wear the mask. Just do it once. If you do it once and you do it right, you don't have to do it for the long time. You don't have to
Right.
stretch. They stretch this whole thing out. I'm tell you that.
That's true. Even I remember I worked as an EMT for almost 15 years. I worked in emergency medicine department.
Right.
I worked in the ED for a while. And if a patient is quarantined, right, because they have TB, we would
Yeah.
have to wear a mask before we go inside of that room. Suppose that one nurse go inside that room without the mask and then come out. She has now infected the entire department and all the patients and the patient's family and
Oh
all of
my.
that. And when you think about just that one person, that's the same thing now with the pandemic. Like if we got a bunch of those one people walking
Yeah.
around, you know what I mean?
It's
Then
chain reaction.
it's a chain reaction, and that's how we come up with over 30,000 people dying in New York City. Like that number, I think is right. I don't know. I'm not very good with statistics and stuff, but the number was big.
And this is the thing that confused me the most too. You have a group of people, like nobody's the same and everybody have different opinions, but then
Hmm.
you have one group saying, this whole thing is a conspiracy, and okay, I understand it. Another group is saying, it's made in a lab, and another group is saying it's
I heard
man-made.
that.
It's man-made, right?
Yeah.
But I think if we evaluate two of the three variables, the most consistent thing I get from it is whether or not it's man-made. Why would you want it? Wear the mask. You
Right.
still
Why would
have
you
to
want to
wear the mask.
risk
It
it?
doesn't matter where it
Exactly.
came from. Wear the mask. And I'm
Exactly.
not here to take sides in any of the story. I'm
No,
just saying,
no.
like, it's really a situation where you don't want this,
Hmm.
but
I think
people are
it's
people.
people, yes, people are people, and people have their own perceptions on it. Could be the same thing, but we're looking at it, like you say, in three different ways. That's the thing I like about, I don't know whether I could call it quantum leap or quantum physics, but I love science.
No, I
You
love
know how
science.
when you go and you remember how like when you would be in the lab and you would put the chemicals together and you would look under the microscope and
Right,
try to evaluate your perception.
right.
It's amazing how like you can look at it and then I'll look at it and I'll be like, no, I think it's a bacterial culture right now. Like that's what I see. And you're like, well, no, I think it's actually, it would just be, that's the thing in life.
Yeah.
Like when they're
Everybody has
looking,
their own opinions on the same issue.
yeah,
And for some reason, no matter how you see it, there's always another angle.
always another
Always another.
angle. So nobody is wrong. I mean,
But I feel, yeah, this is that's a very strong point you made there. Nobody is wrong. People tend to feel like because it's not their opinion, it's not
uh-huh.
the opinion, and I think sometimes we have to learn to not disagree, but listen to every option and make a general assessment after the fact, because we sometimes shut ourselves off from outside knowledge once we have already made our own assumptions, and that's not good.
Absolutely not good at all.
Yeah.
I was listening to a song earlier. I think it said "Everybody Loves Sunshine," right?
Right. Right.
So I thought it was so cool to talk about that. Yes, everybody loves sunshine, but nobody actually wants to stand in the rain. And I see a lot of people canceling out 2020. Unfortunately, we have lost some giants, some
Yes.
people that are dear to our hearts, but we have to continue to move forward. Give
It
me your perception on that.
2020 has been like one of the craziest year I can recall
Hmm.
altogether, and I'm not just saying that from a perspective because of COVID, or when it was earlier in the year we had a whole world war threat, story going around,
Right.
conspiracy, what is conspiracy or not, I don't know. And then and it got worse. It got worse with the COVID story, and then and then there was a COVID, and before it even got to the COVID, it was I was dealing with something personal already. I already lost like two cousins from the same mother, and she don't have no more kids, and that
My
was a depressed.
condolences.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And also I had a older brother that was going through some kind of you know infection or some sort in the back, so he was unable to walk for 3 months, and it was just me. Now this guy is like 6'2" and like 200 and something pounds, and I'm like 5'9". So, and
Right.
I had to lift this guy, put him in a wheelchair, and I had to do that for 3 months until he could walk again. So I was already going through the worst, and I'm like, yo,
That's a lot.
2020. Before there was a COVID, I was like, 2020 is gonna be a tough year, and so it just looked like it got worse, like saying what's
It
that?
gets worse before it gets better.
It, I guess so. It's
Something
like
like that.
you go through the storm, but you haven't passed through the eye yet, so you can't even assume it's gonna ease up.
Yeah.
And so I think COVID might have been maybe the eye, but we're still going through the storm as we
We're still
progress.
going through it, exactly. And my thing is that how we get out of it, our outcome, and determines however our outcome looks like, it determines what we're going to do with this time, the in between.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? We have to learn how to live in the moments.
absolutely, absolutely.
I was talking to recently, a couple conversations ago, a Marianne CEO. Her name is
Yeah,
Michelle LaFleur, and she gave me some insight on just being grateful for just a moment. So, like right now, I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful to share this space with you, to just talk about, literally just talk about life, and
right.
sit back and just relax and just have a conversation. So I'm appreciative for that, because we really only have the moments. Moments
True,
come,
true that.
in
Yeah,
seconds. Moments come in seconds, and we just have to be grateful just for this moment. I don't like to see cancel 2020. Yes, it has been
no,
a tough year, but I don't want it to cancel. That means it's over for me. That's how
yeah.
I look at it.
It's not over, and I wouldn't say till the fat lady sings, because that's not really my style of phrasing things. But
Right.
it's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Uh-huh.
It's been a tough year, but I think if we fight, because they say planes don't lift without resistance.
Right.
It gotta go. If the plane was going with the wind, or the speed of the wind, or the speed of the wind, it wouldn't lift off. So you gotta go against the wind speed to take flight. And I think in order for us to achieve anything, we have to go against the wind.
Hmm.
We gotta push really hard. And I think this year is just one of those years where you have to prove that. It
That's
happens
a,
every now and then.
that's the thing I love. I'm a superhero. I love superheroes. I also love. I've studied about 7 different religions.
Right.
And the cool thing that I found about all of them is that each and every that person, that leader that everyone looks up to, whether it was Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and so on and so forth, they all went through their own journey of the wind, pushing against the wind, or
Right.
going over something, or having to get through.
There
But
had to be
one of
some
the
metaphor.
right, but they do, like, when you look at it from a perspective of love, something that's so lost in this generation, you no longer look at it as a religion, because at the end of the day, each of those stories, they came back as an enlightened one to give their people the way to get through. Maybe how we're on our journey, something may happen that may set us back, and
Right.
it's like, oh, well, if you go down this road, this might be a little bit easier, and you won't have to keep rerouting. You know what I mean?
But then there's
I
also easy come, easy goes. That saying.
Yeah,
It's a very scary thing to balance, like all this. These phrases are not just made up from out of nowhere. These are actually people who had these experiences that come up with these phrases, and their life experience, and they're just saving the younger generation by giving them a few pointers. They make it sound like poems and verses and all type of thing, anything to get it to stay in their heads.
absolutely, absolutely. We live, that's what they say. I keep hearing it, so I just bring it up in conversation. We live in a world that's so congested, with so much content and so many things going on at one time. How do you stay distinctive, and how do you depict that to your audience?
How do I stay distinctive?
Yeah.
Well, I try to focus. I really have this thing where if I'm just absorbing everything that's going on around me, I'll become a product of that. We're something like water, where we're just like a solvent and a solution. If we mix a lot into it, we're just going to be a part of it, or a product of it.
Right.
But if you want to be like more original to your, situation, or your, whatever you're trying to project to the world, I think you have to find, balance in yourself, comfort in knowing who you are and owning up to it, and not feeling left out when a situation occurs and you're not in on it, or you're not a part of this cool group or anything. You just have to make yourself, you know, as cool as you want to be, because people are looking up to you, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. It takes a lot of courage to be successful. It takes a lot of a whole mixture of soup,
Right, right.
right, to get through this life. How do you manage to continue to? Where do you find your courage? How do you continue to persevere through all of everything that you've been through to this point in your
That,
journey?
that's a very funny thing, is that I thought about this time and time again without even having it asked as a question to me. Probably asking myself. I've had as kids, we all have like crazy, when you're going through the hormone rages and all of that, and sometimes you get like, when the world is not going your way, you think the most, and which is a good topic to bring up right now in
Oh,
in
for
in
sure.
September. September is Suicide Awareness Month,
Hmm.
and I think we should talk about, it's good that I'm on this topic, because when you're young, a lot of kids, they won't admit it. A lot of people are ashamed to admit that, but they have thoughts like that. And it's like, I see somewhat like how a video game is. The game might be garbage, but if you already paid your money, you want to see it end because you want to get your money worth. And I think
Hmm.
this is me. I want to get my life worth, because it's gonna, it's not to be depressing, but you have to accept the circle of life anyway. It's gonna
Absolutely.
come to an end, and we're not trying to force anything before the time is over. We're just trying to experience it in abundance.
Hmm.
Let's see what's around the corner before we judge and jump to conclusions. It's not the best corner we're on right now, but it gets better down the road.
Oh, it absolutely does. And I've realized, even though my body, as I get older, everything is starting to change. I can feel the difference. Um, Inside, my mental and my mind has transformed in so many different ways over the years as I get older. And
Right.
I've learned to how important it is to love myself. I didn't always know that.
Yeah.
And I also, in the past, I've had those thoughts where I didn't want to be here. I mean, like I'm like, it's over. I had the recipe and everything, okay? And it was laid out, and I was like, this is it. It's over. And then I thought about my grandmother and her sacrifices that she made. I thought about my ancestors and the sacrifices that they've made. I also thought about the young kids who, they're living at home and they have somebody that's telling them that they can't live their dreams. They don't have someone to tell them that they love them and that they can make it in this world and make a difference.
Right.
I've been able
Motivation.
to, right, had I took my life, I would not have been able to talk at those schools that I've spoken at. We wouldn't even have this moment to speak to those people that probably need this conversation now. So
Right.
I know, like with suicide, when you get to that point, that dark space, though, you don't think about anybody. It's not even about your mother, your father, or no one at that time. You just want it to be over. And that is just a really, wow, really a sensitive topic.
It is. It is. It's
Yes,
very,
thank you
very.
everybody for joining, right? It's so beautiful. Everybody that's on here, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
As
It
an
is.
EMT for 15 years, you see a lot of people commit suicide. You see a lot of attempts.
I've seen. Yeah, I've seen jokes, like, how they do the memes. I remember just getting into like falling in love with memes. Everybody have memes that offend them and some that they like,
Right.
and we try to screenshot and we take these quotes. And there was one. with like an old guy looking like he's having the time of his life on a skateboard, and it said, "I'll never forget it." He said, "Why are we all taking life so seriously? It's not like we're all getting out alive."
And we're not. And that's one of those pure examples of laughing through your pain
Yeah,
because it's a
laughing through
real
your pain.
thing.
Exactly. And we have to look at one thing is for sure, right? We don't know what's behind the veil, but we know two things. We all go there, and if there's a hill and there's rain, all the water runs in the trench. So that means wherever they go, you go eventually. So it's not a, we can miss them, but you shouldn't have to feel bad about the circle of life, basically.
Yeah. He says, so my question is, why are we not looking at the bigger picture? That's
It
a
is a bigger
person
picture.
that it is absolutely is. It always is. But that depends on the person's mindset and how they view the world and how they perceive people and everything else that's going on around.
Right.
That's a personal thing. I think that's a personal decision.
But that's my opinion. I feel like people have different opinions on what the key to life is.
Hmm.
There is not one key to life. There's
Oof.
various keys to life, and we sometimes each individual find their meaning, and we can always have conversations and compare. Oh, I found this key. What do you have? And then we,
Right.
connect, and we have two keys now. Each have two keys because you shared your key with me, and I shared my key with you.
Absolutely.
And so basically what I've been touching on since we started speaking was acceptance is a big part of life, a big part. It's age,
That's
it's
huge.
birth, it's the end of birth, it's all of that, you know what I mean? Acceptance is everything, and accepting the laws of physics so early on, knowing how to skate and knowing what to do to fall when you were a kid, learning how to ride a bike. We started accepting things very early. And there's things that we can finesse, like balance, learning how to balance.
Hmm.
It's a learning curve. Crying is a big part of life. Everybody feel like there are people who go through life without shedding tears. Unless you have a medical condition, everybody cries.
I see a couple people that do that though. And eventually they find themselves depressed, they find themselves with anxiety, they find themselves with a lot of mental issues. Not that because it was a genetically inclined inside of them, it was something mentally that they constantly pent at themselves over and over and over again. And you become your thoughts, you become what you think about most of the time.
Right.
So yeah, ooh, that's a terrible thing. Like I always think about too, like it's so many of us that are walking around with mental chains in our own prison.
In
We're
our own
free.
prison.
We can walk around, you know what I mean? But we're
Yeah.
literally in our own prison. That is such a tragedy.
I think that's why self-reflective is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
Before I learned to, for example, even in relationships in your life, before you learn how to depend on somebody or make somebody your other half, you have to be completed first. So this is where you hear some people say they go soul search, they go on a journey to find themselves, be alone for a while, sometimes things like that, different approach. And like I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I don't have like crazy depression, but
Hmm.
everybody gets depressed, and I do my own research, and I found, like, for example, lights affect your emotional state of mind,
Oh, yes, they do.
and
The
colors a lot.
colors on the paint.
They say vitamin D from the sun is good for your depression. It
Yeah.
it counteracts it, and so there's nights when there's no sunlight, and you have to find alternative means. And I got me something that you could just change the color of lights,
Oh,
and
I'm gonna order something like that for my room.
I'll change the whole mood in the room and
Yeah,
just keep my energy. You have to learn to
I love that.
self medicate is everything. you know
I love that. But we have to go out and seek and search. Sometimes we don't know. You know what I
we
mean?
don't
So
know, but
sometimes people, they're like, how do I do it?
exactly, but nobody knows where to start. That's the truth. You don't know where to start. You just know you have to start with one step, and that's looking. And fortunate for most of us, we have the internet you know
I was trying to go back and look at some of the comments. He said,
oh,
the vaccine, I don't want to really spend any time on that. This for my live here is literally, I want to talk about life. I want to talk about how to persevere through. I want to talk about fear. I want to definitely talk about what we create and what we do. But it's really mostly to inspire those that, yes, we're in a crisis, but let's use this for creativity. Let's
Right.
use this for healing. You know what I mean? We could talk, there's so many other people that's their lane. So you
Right.
should click on their news network and let them talk about COVID all day long. I bring up COVID
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
we can experience, you can share your experience of it. I
Right.
can share my experience of it, and maybe somebody may comment and we can talk about, our perspective on what their experience is. But I don't want to spend a complete hour talking about it because people are dealing with life. Yes,
Currently.
COVID is happening. It's
Yeah.
out there. It's there already. There's
Right.
nothing we can do about it. We cannot control external
It's not
events.
much we can do but miss anybody that's gone.
We
Really, we
can't,
can't.
right. We
And
can't control it. It's happening.
here's another opinion on that. For those who don't know how to deal with the loss, I can only advise you to for those who are not here to live this beautiful life with us, let us have live life in abundance enough for us and those who are not here able to share it with us. So
Right.
if we go to a nice dinner, oh, this is for you. This is mine, but I'm enjoying this for those that loved one that is not here right now. This is for us
Absolutely.
right now, that moment. Like that's how I look at it.
Yes, let them live through us. We are still here. We're alive. We have the opportunity to do something amazing every single day that we're graced to walk this earth. He says that our lives are at risk. My perception on that is every single day that we step our foot out of that door or
Right.
on the ground, our lives are always at risk. We don't know if a bomb could just come through here. God forbid. But I'm
Remember
just
that
speaking life.
there
You
was a
understand
show.
what I'm saying? Like,
There
we
was
don't know. It's always at risk. You can get in your car. My whole driving experience is keeping someone from crashing into me. The whole driving experience. Why did you run that light?
if you think about life that way, you'll be paranoid forever because there was a show back in the day called "A Thousand Ways to Die," and it will make
Yeah.
you think
Oh,
about
I didn't watch that show.
uh, you
You
just
watch that?
you be scared to go to your kitchen after watching that. So
Yeah. I didn't
don't
watch
even try.
that. I didn't watch that show at
No, that
all
so
because I lived life for real.
yeah. You
You know what I
sometimes
mean?
the thing about life is you got to learn how to learn what risks to take for yourself.
Yeah.
And don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to swim. If you need to learn to swim, don't be afraid. Start where you can, walk and then try to work your way up to a higher level. Anything at all. Just get out there at your own pace. That's really it. Because
Yes.
at the end of the day,
See?
I speak to a lot of old people, and I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of old friends. I
Oh,
have
I
friends.
love older people.
I have friends that are so old, but they try to keep up with my youth. So when I hang around them, they try to put on some young people music just to. They think they're keeping me there, but they don't know that I'm actually there to see them and talk to them.
Right, exactly.
And they talk about how they spend most of their youthful days like trying to, impress people, doing things that is not them, just not a part of their character, right? Trying to impress a group of people that they don't even think they're gonna know in the next 10 years or 5. And it's like, what is all that energy for when you could already, from start to finish, be yourself and attract all the right people that will love you for you from
Absolutely.
from then, and they won't ever have to leave.
Absolutely. I love your background.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my goodness. Your background is so dope. That is so
I
cool.
got an actual aquarium, but it's in the living room. But I like this; it kind of keep my mind calm.
He said, when I'm done, I'm calling to the gates broken and busted. And I'm going to say, hella ride. Let's do it again. Exactly. That's how I am. Like, I live for the experience and the thrill of just life. Like, I've been whitewater rafting. I've been river tubing, which I think river tubing was probably one of the most craziest thing I ever did because
Well,
I didn't realize that the current is strong.
I've seen it,
Like,
but I've
you
never
have
tried it.
no control.
I've
Like,
never tried it.
when you're let me just share a little bit of my experience with it. When you get into the tube, and as soon as your tube hits that water, you have no control. There's no slowing it down. You know what I mean? You may can steer it over to the direction of where you want to go, but that's not even
It's kind
that's
of
not
like
even a
life.
guarantee.
It's
And that's
kind of like life.
exactly, that's why I share that story all the time, because when me and my son have went, but we ended up in a swamp,
Right.
right? And so I'm like, come on, like just swim over a little bit so we could continue on this journey. And he just would not, because he has this serious bug phobia. And because he didn't do it,
You can
we
paddle.
had to go. He didn't want to do nothing.
You
So
could
we
probably
had to
paddle
we
your
had to
way.
walk up the mountain,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like if we would have slipped on one rock, we were going to be out of there. And he made our journey harder because
Oh
he was
my.
afraid. And people do
Fear.
that every day. Fear paralyzes people.
Fear paralyzes. Fear keeps you under a certain control is one thing, but mobilize you is another thing. Like fear will stop you from living your dream. Fear of what people think. All
Oh, yeah,
types
for
of fear.
sure. All types.
I,
All types.
I don't have fear, but I have a certain sense of, cause and effect that I keep for balance. I learned the cause and effect, balance of cause and effect will always keep you in check. I think you could switch that out for fear. You'd be better off.
He said he jumped out of the airplane. Craig, that's a good friend of mine. Jumped out of an airplane from 32,000 feet, 85th civilian to ever do it from that
Oh
high.
my God. That is
Wow.
scary.
That is that is so scary. But everybody that I've ever talked to that has jumped out of a plane, however high, I think it's all high when you're
I have
jumping out of a
one fear.
plane.
One fear is, I tell you, I cannot rationalize it until I understand it more. I'm afraid of sharks and anything that swims in the dark depths. So, one of the most thrilling thing I've ever done was not whitewater rafting, because I don't think I would be afraid of like a little bit of salmon or something splashing on me. But
Yeah.
just being in any open water with like, so I did, I was with a group of people. It was some Marine students and some sergeants and a college director for a maritime college, and we all went out on the water, and they had a floaty thing out in the ocean, like how the X Games was.
Uh-huh.
So
Oh,
they
I
had
love
something
the
like
X
that,
Games.
and we were walking on it, and we going out there, and it was sergeants, everybody take turns, and they go out, and then they slip off, and we try to walk the bridge. You got wet feet and the type of material it is, and I was just thinking to myself, I have a vest on, because how they make sure you put the vest on before you go out in the ocean.
Okay.
And what happened was they said, if you really want to know how good you are, try putting the vest on while you're in the water, because it's a whole new situation versus just putting it on land. And
Uh-huh.
so I was just testing myself, and that's the first step, facing some fear. I don't think I've ever been in deep waters like a certain height.
I,
So
I don't think I have either.
I was floating up while I was trying to clip it, and it was the most difficult thing. But when we went out there, and I did my turn, and I went across, and I fell into the water, and I was looking down, and it was so dark. I was right under the Whitestone Bridge.
What?
I was under the Whitestone Bridge, and there were people boating across and all around, and I was just down there, and I told my brother, and he's like, "Yo, you did some scary things."
That is so scary. You say
But
great white sharks dive in Africa right off the Seal Island.
oh my God!
Mm-mm.
So
Nah.
I did. We were using a kayak one of the times to back and forth, and Marine kids are very rough. They like to play in the water. So I was with some of the kayaks have like 2 seats, some of them have one, and I had one of the 2 seats because the single seats were unavailable. And one of the kids, they saw us, and everybody was playing bumper cars out there for some reason. Like, why would you want to go swim? And then when they would leave the kayak in the water and they swim to land and they start swimming around. I'm like, this is not the water to be playing around in. So they knocked my kayak over, and I'm upside down staring at the bottom of the ocean again. And I'm like, oh my God. So you know what I did? I got out, and it's a double one. It's one for 2
Right.
people. I flipped it by myself, and the director was like,
No.
I've never seen one guy flip his own kayak by himself and hop back in it.
No. Uh-uh.
It was so scary, and I think the fear in me that flipped that by myself. It
But
was an
then
experience,
the fear wasn't
but it was
paralyzing you though.
exciting though. It's like, hey, queen. So it's exciting, but it's not like sad, scary, depressing, or that type of. It's
Right.
just it's a thrill. It's a thrill. It's something that I probably wouldn't do again, but I'm glad I did it. That
But
type
you
of.
Right. I wouldn't do river tubing again. It
Uh,
was I felt amazing afterwards. I felt like I can conquer the world. I felt free. It was good. I love nature. So it's like anytime I'm around trees, water, grass, I'm all in. But I was like, oh my God, it feels so free. But it's just one of those experiences where I felt like I did it. It felt great, but I don't want to
right.
do it again. Life is about experiences. So if you
It is.
experience something, it doesn't mean that you got to keep experiencing it over and over and
No, you
over.
don't. You can move on to the next because there's so much to
Right.
experience.
Yes.
There's so much.
Exactly.
That's the
Um,
funny thing.
what how did you get into art?
Art. So I started doing art when I was, back in high school, and for some no, matter of fact, I started doing art in the fifth grade, I want to say. So I
Ah,
used to watch my mother. I used to watch my mother. She used to do like, art and craft. Like she was really art and craft lady, and she, the person that would put the
very
glue and then they put
nice.
the sand and they do the sketch around it and all of that,
Uh-huh.
and the cutouts and and then it evolved as time progressed. So I left from that phase and I went to um like the fifth grade, sixth grade. I was in the Caribbean, so I did something in a piece of paper, and it kind of it made the newspaper
Wow.
the first time, and then but from then it went to like high school level, and then it keep evolving. It got good. It got better and better, and I think there was I had some challenges, of course, as high school, but eventually I graduated like third place in my school with it, and like first in my class, but third place in my school. And I think that was the last time I did any kind of practice of art where I was taught it. And then what happened was when it came to like the graphics and all of that, I basically just reapplied myself to a whole new concept of art and self-taught myself. Just have not really dived back into like with the old way
Hmm.
for a long time, but recently I've been trying to reincorporate both of them, try to make a merge from the knowledge that I've taught myself and what I've been given as in school.
That is so amazing that you started. A lot of times we start at a young age. Sometimes people realize it and notice it, and
Right.
others they'll look back and be like, wow, I had that then and I just didn't even know it. I always talk to the kids and I say, usually around, between the ages of 7 and 14, we'll just say statistic wise, I think on the paper, that's what they say, that we can notice somehow something different that
I
we
th-
do exceptionally well,
yeah,
right?
yeah. You always
Yeah.
hear the story, but it's just never really applied to me that this is what is happening now. You don't really feel it until you look back at the situation and the journey, and it's like, well,
Yes.
I was one of those kids, right? Because I remember my grandfather before he passed away, but in 2014 he used
My
to,
condolences.
thank you, at the age of like 10 or so he used to send me like paint and tapes. That then was tapes, a lot of cassettes,
Yes, I love them.
and I used to pop them in and watch like art videos and have conversations with him about art. He talked about painting. He painted himself. He did a few things. He was very well rounded. I think I'm more like him because he
Wow, that's
likes,
beautiful.
as much as I'm a visual art person,
Hmm.
I also appreciate the audio side of it.
Oh,
So
lovely.
I got
I
it's a
can play
Rode
the
keyboard.
keyboard. I taught myself.
Oh, that's
Yes.
nice.
I taught myself. I also taught myself how to read music too.
I'm still learning
Uh,
the to play it. Like you never really done learning, I think, unless you're like playing live in front of people
no,
or
no,
something
of
like. So
course
I'm
not.
not that good. So it's like I just enjoy listening to the things I can come up with in different sounds and combination of loops. But
Yeah.
I guess that's my beginner's level in my opinion.
Oh no, I'm not that great where I'm going to get on stage. I did it as a personal thing because I worked as a music publicist for many,
Yeah,
many years. And I always felt like it's important to understand the other person's position and what it entails. What do they do? What do they position? cause for? What is it that gets the people looking at them or listening for them or whatever it may be? If I'm working for a producer, I need to understand what those loops are. I need to understand the
Yeah.
ways and all the frequencies and when things change and when it doesn't really sound like it's industry ready. I can tell the difference between listening to a beat on YouTube versus live in the studio with live instruments
Well, that's
and
good
all
ear
putting it
training.
together, right?
That's good
Exactly.
training.
But you take your time, and that's the thing about trusting the process. You take your time and you learn your craft and you learn to master it over time,
Right. It
right?
people. I hear people like I know people personally that tell me all the time, "Oh, you know, how did you get good at this?" You're like, because they think I'm a Swiss Army knife, you know. And the thing is, you know, you're not born with anything. None of this is given to you. Just like I had to learn to walk, I just applied myself to some. I tell you one thing, and I think everybody here should know. I learned this from a guy that do a channel on YouTube, a Vsauce, and he was talking about boredom. And they did a test. They did a experiment where the guy sat in a room and there was a button, a red button, and he touched the button, and
Uh-huh.
it would shock him. But when you put him in an isolated room with nothing to play with and you just gave him a seat, boredom strikes, and it will make you do things that is dangerous rather than just sit steady. And I guess his point was only two things happen. You either do something destructive in the face of boredom, or you do something
Mm-hmm.
very, very genius. So his moral was at the end of genius come wisdom. At the end of boredom, I mean, come wisdom. And so I applied that to myself, and I felt like if you tried everything, like as a kid, you know, you try video games. I still play video games, but every now and then.
I do too. I play
As
the
a
Wii every now and then.
you have to starve yourself from the pleasures of life
Mm-hmm.
to force a new idea sometimes. You ever lie down in your bed and just think of something so genius, but if you sleep and wake up again, it's gone.
So cool.
You know, I sleep with a notepad at the side of my bed, or you know, if I have a laptop or the phone, you know, whichever one comes first. I have everything in proximity, and I'll take something to record what I just conjured, however I conjured it, whether it be a melody or whatever, because I like every aspect of the art, and I think that's why I use the title creative director because even though I do graphics, there are times when you know different aspects of it are incorporated into the next. Like if I'm shooting a scene and there is no, you know, especially with nowadays it's 21st century, we have copyrights and all of that. Sometimes
Yes.
we don't want to use something that's going to have copyrights issues. Sometimes we just need a smooth tone or melody or something, and we could just go and make a, you know, on the keyboard, and we make a few sounds and we put it in the thing, and it's yours. It's all yours, and all you have to do is just you have the rights to that. You can publish it if you like. I think that's the direction I want to go with it. Have not personally, I have not put any music into any videos that I created, but I have created like sound effects and all of that before. And you know, in the projects that I've edited, I've just been using a lot of free copyright stuff. You know,
That is
just
so.
for
Well,
now.
you have, yeah, that's so cool.
But just
I want to
imagine
see
like
if I'm
sound
missing
effects. You know,
anything. Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine it without sound effects. I
I
can't
think
even
every
imagine life without music.
every part of art is some way intertwined. You know, with the art that I did for Scrappy on his new single Dripping.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
It's
I
a
can feel
photo.
it.
It was a photo, and it was like there was no motion in it, and I felt like it could have been some motion in it. You know, I just felt like it could have been. And what I did was just incorporate his audio. Of course, his audio kind of just tie into what I like to do,
Uh-huh.
and I incorporated like water in the background. I kind of just visualized how I wanted it to set up because they only gave me a photo of his top half, no feet. And I was trying to make that work. How you make that work in the image, unless he's submerged or something. And then the title, the song was Dripping. I just made it, you know, look like he was in the water, and there was dripping on the screen and all that. You know, it's like just conjuring up ideas on the fly type situation.
No, I think it's absolutely amazing. You know how before COVID, I would go to the art museums a lot because I always find inspiration. And I love to look at the art and try to not only just reflect, because I also reflect, because sometimes some paintings have like a whole story. It takes
Right.
you to a whole period in time. But it also sometimes you can see the emotion, whether they're trying to depict sadness, you can feel it just by looking at the art. So I think I remember because it's on your page, and I was like, wow, this feels very alive. It makes you feel like you want to look and see what is this about.
Yeah. That's art.
Yeah.
Like it has to captivate. You gotta think when you see it, and if it's not, maybe it's not the most abstract scenery, but sometimes the choice of colors just kind of just lighten up your mood. You know,
Absolutely.
I
I
was
think
sharing
that's
that with
good.
somebody that followed me that was going through some some type of depression, and I was like, you know, that person, they like to draw what they experience, and I thought that was very similar to what I do, but they draw the depression that they experience as well, which is a little bit more graphic. But I was saying that's why, because when you experience anything at all, there's only two outcome from this. People don't tend to understand. I'm not a psychologist, but people don't tend to understand what lead them to a certain behavior, and it's one
Hmm.
of two things. You know, if you're from an abusive family, tend to become abusive yourself, or you become the more protective version of your better version of your parents.
Oh, yes, I understand.
So we hear that all the time in the
Hmm.
industry with celebrities and all that. So when I see somebody experiencing something, I think that was the opposite of me, but the same experience. And I thought to myself, this is why I don't do that, because I want people to feel something. When I don't want them to feel what I've experienced on my downside,
Uh-huh.
I want them to know that people are here, that experience something different, and there's joy out here still. So
And
perseverance.
perseverance. Oh my God, that's one of my favorite words. Fearless, courage, and perseverance are the three words that I talk about all the time. Let's talk about words real quick.
Tell me it
Um,
again. Tell me it again.
Fearless, courage, and perseverance. Those are my favorite three words.
I like that. I like that. I like that a lot.
These three words.
I should take notes.
I always got a pen because I get so inspired by these conversations because it's amazing. I think this is the 20th. I need to go back and count. Uh, but each of the 20 people that I've talked to has went through this journey 20 different
Wow.
experiences, right?
Wow.
All different types of pain and suffering, no matter how successful they've been.
True.
And but they persevere through it and they here to share the experience. So I'm like, wow. So how did you persevere through that? Like she said, I'm taking notes. Yeah, because she's here for every single conversation. Thank you,
Oh.
Brenda. Oh my goodness, that is so amazing. Yeah. So I have a question.
Okay.
This quote, I always read it off because I never want to, I want people to get the entire sentence and not my mumbo jumbo, right? So
Right.
I want him to get the entire experience. One of the greatest enemies of fulfillment of purpose is procrastination and broken focus. Dr. Cindy Trim, I seen that quote on Twitter.
Can you read it again?
Yeah. One of the greatest enemies of fulfillment of purpose is procrastination and broken focus.
I like that. I agree with that. I agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
How do you stay focused and continue to create? Because you have your clients, you have your business, and business still goes on even though life is happening.
Yeah, it
Um,
does. It does.
right? So how do you stay focused and continue to be able to meet your deadlines?
So I kind of lightly touched on the topic around the time we were conversating, but
Just a little bit.
managing your depression is in general statement, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever lights. I also do
Thanks.
exercise, physical exercise, but I don't do restricted confines like gym. I like to be out
Mm-hmm.
in nature, because nature and sunshine, trees, all of that helps me, and it
Mm-hmm.
gets you into a mental state that you feel more rejuvenated. And when you get back into your seating position, whether it's editing or whatever you do,
Mm-hmm.
you have more focus. You have more focus because you're not thinking about what's going on out there no more. You already seen what's going on out there.
Right.
Now you're focused on making something happen here. So I have like various approaches that I use, and it depends on the mood as well. But that's roughly how and sometimes I binge watch. You have to do everything that your mind is telling you. It's
I
like
do that a lot.
it's like a craving, but you can't overindulge because you will get, obesity from it. So
Hmm.
I don't want to binge watch an entire series. So I'll watch a movie if I have something to do because it gets me to, you know, get me entertained a certain way so I can get over that hunger that's distracting me from thinking like a creative.
I get it.
It's like a thirst.
I actually binge watched on The Shy. Recently, I had Miriam Hicks on here, who's one of the stars from season 3. And I was telling her, I was like, no, I don't get to see it every Sunday or when it airs. But I literally binge watched on it because it had touched, I know we're getting towards the end, but I got to
Yeah.
get this out. It had touched on so many different topics: sexual abuse, gay, lesbian rights and issues,
Right.
teen pregnancy, issues of being a single father with many different women, the issues that I used to see growing up in the
Yeah.
urban areas. So I guess sometimes maybe for my perspective, binge watching worked for me because it was really inspiring for me to continue to write and know what to bring up on some topics that maybe people could be dealing with right
I
now.
I think it's reassuring to know that when a person is going through an experience, you're not going through it by yourself.
Yeah,
So
that's a good one.
it feels like if you have a community of people, like if you're just in your own struggle,
Hmm.
and then you're a little bit depressed. But when you find out, like, oh, there's a whole group chat of people on Instagram that are now talking about it and maybe even cracking jokes at it. Now you've seen everybody cracking jokes at their situation, which is your situation. You kind of take the edge off your stress and your trauma that you experiencing. It's like you have
Exactly.
so TV kind of does that, watching people live a certain experience and how they react to it, especially if it's not a dramatic and sad ending or something like that.
I absolutely agree. So now, since we're getting to the end, I definitely have to do my due diligence by shouting out my sponsor, 10K Cards, who gave you, you're amazing. We gave you this amazing social media business card. It's so cool because you actually connect the website to
I love
it.
it.
It's my bookmark. Like, it's so
Shout out to
cool.
10K
People,
Card.
yes, shout out to 10K Cards, 10,000cards.com.
Oh
Literally,
my
I have
god.
a book. You can turn it into a bookmark on your phone, so then
Oh,
you'll
I
be able
could.
to see your face. Yeah.
Oh wow, I need to try that.
Like, my bookmark is right under Netflix on
So
my
it's
phone.
a link. It's a link.
It's a link. You will see it. When you
Oh.
play around with it and press the buttons, you'll
I,
see.
I I was messing around with it, but because I had the call coming in, I really didn't want to.
Yeah.
But I'll
But
mess around with it right after.
you can also after this DM me if you want to. You can we're actually going to sponsor whoever it is that you want to actually give a card to as well. So that's
Okay.
really cool. And I wanted to give, I don't know if she's on here because there's so many comments coming so fast, but Miriam Speaks, she's always on here every single live that I have. So I also want to give her a business card too. I really appreciate my sponsor because that is such a nice gift to give. Oh, she says she enjoyed you. Wasn't he awesome? I really appreciate you so much. I
Thank
know
you guys.
we didn't even get into like who you work with and stuff like that, but people can like look you up.
It's a good combo.
Right? It was such a good conversation. It was like, oh my God, I don't even know. Like, let's see. I think we got
One
time for
hour was
one.
not enough.
It was not enough. It goes by so fast. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much. I didn't think, honestly, my perception was, I was like, well, if it's just two people on here, we're going to just talk because we're going to have this conversation and people will view it later because I know
Right.
this is a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
But we were able to get quite a few people on here in the middle
It
of the
was fun. It
day.
was amazing. I was just looking at the comments. I'm sorry if I didn't get to
No,
address
that's okay.
everybody, but
Right. It's hard.
I'm not like most people where they could just interact while, on the live. I have to focus, a certain way, but I read every one of the comments. I appreciate everybody that came through and check it out.
So do I. You
Much
can
love.
give some shameless plugs if you would like to as we end, as my friend said, Ashley Donovan. She was like, I want to give some shameless plugs. I'm like, it's not shameless plugs. We support and love each other. That's what we're supposed to do.
That's
So
what
if
we
we
do.
have people on our team that we want to give gratitude to, go right ahead and do that.
Appreciate it. Yo, that DJ Lion Paw, I already see you, man.
Yes, I've seen them too. Thank
Shout out to
you.
DJ Hyper. I see you too. I see a lot of people in here. Cynthia, um,
It's so many
John
people,
Cool.
right?
Yo, John Cool. I already know. You already know.
It's so many people.
Honorable
I
mentions.
Did I see you? Oh, yes, you were on when I was talking to two.
Yeah.
Yes.
I,
Ah, that's what it was.
that's where
Yes.
it was a lovely show. I like that show. So I was being very supportive. I saw the whole
Yes,
vibe.
you were being very supportive, but what brought me
That's naturally me. That's natural. I
what
do it to
made me
strangers
bring
too.
you on though is that you love to inspire people. When you made that comment, I was like, I want to bring him on and talk to him and see how does he do that? Like, how does he inspire the people? What does he say to the people? And you've given so many gems. And I just want to say that I appreciate you. I hope that you and your family continues to stay safe during this time that we're in,
Thank you,
and
and to yours too.
we come out of this thing even stronger, even wiser, and even giving out more love. We need to love more. Love is
Appreciate
the
it.
frequency. Have an amazing rest of the weekend. Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having me.
You're welcome. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye bye.